Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope everyone's having a blessed Saturday morning. This is Gerald 11 Green. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. Of course, I have my co-host, Coach 67 Sports TV, and JB. Coach, how you doing?
I'm blessed and highly favored this morning. How y'all gentlemen doing this morning?
Can't complain, man. Can't complain about anything. JB, how you doing, man?
Hey, like Coach said, man, I'm blessed as well, man. Enjoying my Saturday morning, man, and ready to talk some wrestling with y'all, man.
Yeah, right. So, man, this is I wouldn't say this is basically a special edition, man. Usually the Southern Baller Show is Sunday, which we will have Sunday um at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. But me and Coach and JB men was planning to do a show like this, especially regarding wrestling. So we just wanted to get this in. So I'm excited to do it. We have to talk about the heat between Booker T and Swerve Strickland. Those who don't know, um, basically there's some little beef going on between the brothers. Hall of Famer Booker T, WWE Hall of Famer Booker T, um, former five-time individual WCW champion and tag team champion with his brother Stevie Ray when he was with Harlem Heat. And then you got Swerve Strickland. He's a new, hot, young talent out of AEW, where Jade Cargill came from. Um, and basically, Swerve Strickland was on VladTv and didn't have anything nice to say about Booker T. But we gonna watch it. I have the video, fair use YouTube, and we're gonna talk about it. All right. So I'm just setting the playing field before we get started. Let's see. And those on your way in, please hit the like button, share, subscribe. Much appreciated. And shout out to Reality of Wrestling. This is a wrestling channel. You also will see Booker T and his show on there. So please support if you're interested. Let me know if y'all can hear it.
Well, I feel like for our audience, our radio audience, and YouTube and podcast audience who might not have heard what is exactly going on, Swerve Strickland was interviewed on Vlad TV, and there was a clip that started floating around the internet. And Book, I mean, I think fair is fair. Putting it in context would be great. Can I play the clip?
Yeah.
Is that fine?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is Booker. This is the clip from Swerve Strickland's interview with Vlad TV. So it says Swerve responds.
For the company for a long time, and I know I've been treated fair for the last 20 years.
That's not what happened when Vince said the N-word in front of you. That's not being treated fair, my opinion. And to that statement, it's not even what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. What people are saying. I'm saying what your audience is saying. So it's not just me just talking out of my ass out of nowhere. It's what your audience has been complaining about for the better part of like 2-3 years from not seeing black talent even getting single matches on PLEs and stuff like that. It's not.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's the clip. So he was referring to a time on the show where there was some questions about Swerve Strickland, and did AEW overpay for him? WWE thought they paid him over market value, and Swerve, I think, was on the Breakfast Club and was discussing his WWE run and lack thereof, and I believe you said something regarding I'm trying to figure out what he's talking about. I'm black, so I'm just trying to understand if something happened to him personally. Maybe he should have thought he should have been a bigger star in the WWE. I hate we're still talking about this race thing. I've been working for the company for a long time, and I know I've been treated fairly for 20 years.
Verbatim,
so that was
verbatim. That's exactly what I said. And I don't think you're going to find anything in that statement right there negative towards Strickland.
Well, you know what? let's
Okay,
give some
play-
let's give
let's
some
play
more
devil's advocate.
context.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me play some more context, because Swerve Strickland actually did make history in AEW as becoming the first black AEW champion. We discussed that on the show, and here was your reaction to that.
I'm a big fan of Swerve Strickland, man. I saw him in the airport, a couple of months ago, and him and I, we networked a little bit. Then, but to see Swerve Strickland become the first black champion over in AEW is really, really, really awesome. I was listening to him talk just this morning how, Booker T just won it not too long ago, and now he's winning it. That just lets you know the generational gap. Like when I won it, then it was so, like when Ron Simmons won it, then it was so many years before another one won it, then it was so many years before another one won it. This shows progress, in professional wrestling. So for me, I'm all down with Swerve Strickland being the world champion, not just because for anything from a showpiece perspective or anything like that. This dude is really that damn good inside the square circle. He deserves to be the world champion. I'm a big fan.
That was what you said regarding Swerve's world title win.
That's high praise right there. I mean, and you know what? I don't like. Like I said, I was at an event this weekend. I was at an event this weekend in Richmond, Virginia, and lo and behold, who was at the same event with me, actually as a part of the same party. It was literally the first person I run into the morning of the event. And just like Swerve Strickland said, me having the energy when Vince McMahon said the N-word, I rest assured I had the energy when I saw him, because I approached Swerve Strickland and I had a conversation with Swerve Strickland. Let's talk about the conversation in depth as far as what I told Swerve Strickland. I had an offer to be on VladTv before as well, and I turned it down. And they called me back and they offered me money to go on VladTv, and I turned it down because I was not going to go on VladTv and be exploited. I wasn't going to go on, on VladTv and him make me look like a fool in front of the world. I was not going to do that, and I wasn't going to go on VladTv and say anything negative towards any black man that's ever been in this business, because I know how hard it is for all of them. I've been the first one to say any brother getting his bag, I'm all in. 100%. But I told Swerve Strickland to his face how disappointed I am in him as a young brother, because all I did for Swerve Strickland ever was put him over and put him on a pedestal as being one of the best out there that ever did it. He deserved being the AEW champion. And for him to say something like that about me, I don't know if these guys think racism stopped in 1990 when I got in the business, but it didn't. Okay, you may not hear about a lot of racial issues with Booker T, because I handled racial issues head first. I opened doors. I broke down barriers for people like Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland perhaps would not even be here if it wasn't for me. I have to apologize for nothing that I've done in this business, because I've gone out there and literally represented in the ring, out of the ring, from day one all the way to this day in 2025. Okay, you speak on Vince McMahon and him saying the N-word. You want me to be angry black man in the company. You want me to not open doors and make spaces for people like you. That's what you want me to do. Swerve Strickland, I hope you're never going to be in the movies. I hope you're never going to be on a movie set, because you might hear somebody say the N-word. And if you got a problem with it, they're going to tell your ass to get the hell out of here, because this is a movie, all right? And I'm upset. I'm upset because, more importantly, I'm disappointed at Swerve Strickland, because what I told him, and I'll repeat it, just like I repeated it to him, you got played. You got played, bro. You got played. You let that man play you and pit you against me and me against you. I don't know how many stories you ever heard about that on VladTv, but it's many of them. It's many stories out there about the black man against the black man, because Vlad is pitting them against each other. I don't know how many people you heard that got locked up from the federal perspective about going on VladTv. I don't know what the hell you doing on VladTv, first of all. What have you done to be on VladTv. Okay, that's just my opinion on that. And as far as Swerve Strickland, just like I say, and me having the energy, the veracity, I got all that because I'm still 6'3" tall, 230 pounds of romping, stomping, grave, damn, digging, destruction, Jack. We got to take a break. We'll be back in a minute.
All right, so that was the 2-in-1. That was the Vlad video with Swerve Strickland talking about Booker T, and then Booker T's response. So, Coach, we've been talking about this, for a couple of days now. Just unpack it for everybody who's don't know what's going on, or just listening and just seeing this.
Well, first, let me give you some background on it. First and foremost, for people that don't watch like current wrestling, Swerve Strickland, when he was in WWE, he was in WWE's developmental program on their show called NXT. And he was in this group called Hit Row with himself, B-Fab, who is a female wrestler that's currently on WWE on the SmackDown roster. And this other wrestler named Top Dollar. Well, now he's in TNA wrestling under his real name, AJ Francis. So the three of them was in this group called Hit Row. And Swerve Strickland don't feel like he was properly used in WWE. And not only that, he thinks like Booker T. Well, first of all, I'm not gonna lie. I think both of them make valid points to a certain degree. But I agree with Booker T from the standpoint of VladTv is a culture vulture. I don't care what nobody say. I think he's 100% accurate that VladTv has this history of being divisive when it comes to black people. First of all, he act like a messy broad, in my opinion. And he intentionally set Swerve Strickland up to put Swerve Strickland against Booker T. And Vlad has this history. And like Booker T said, I don't even know why black people even go on VladTv. First and foremost, he a culture vulture. All right. He from Russia. He was a DJ or whatever. And he realized instead of me like going to work for these companies and make pennies on the dollar, I might as well start my own platform. And in my opinion, I believe VladTv is worse than Just Pearly Things, worse than Skip Bayless. He's, in my opinion, a white person with no talent. And he built this platform. He had black people come on his platform and he pay him pennies on the dollar. Just say we just gonna hypothetically speak. Just say he give somebody black, most of the time he don't even pay him. But if he do, just say he give him like 10 bands. The same interview that he does, he gonna make $200,000 off it while he gave you $10,000. And you essentially, and I'm just kind of lowballing it. He probably don't pay you at all, give you even less. And then he turns around and makes hundreds of $1,000s of that same interview. So he a culture vulture. If you take all the black entertainers, and he's like super fascinated with gang culture, like Booker T said, he's synonymous for getting these former gang members and these gangsters and these thugs that don't believe in no snitching. We don't snitch. But you turn around and you get in front of VladTv camera and you get on his platform and he asks you incriminating questions and you answer the questions, and then you turn around and you ended up getting indicted by the federal government and you end up going to prison for going on VladTv. Like, you should have the wherewithal, first and foremost, not to go on his platform at all. Even if you do need the money, just say you go on it. And you don't answer a question that's going to incriminate you. That's stupid. So that's first and foremost. And Booker T right that he plays Swerve Strickland. And truthfully speaking, Booker T's right from the standpoint of he's a trailblazer and he broke down barriers and he kicked in doors. and open the door for somebody like Swerve Strickland. However, you know, Swerve Strickland is having like this pro-black mindset mentality. Like, hey, if you're a real one, you wouldn't have let Vince McMahon, you know, there's this promo from years ago where Vince McMahon had on his do-rag or whatever he said, and he called John Cena the N-word. He said my N-word. And Booker T was like, no, he didn't say that. And it was like, hey, if you was a real one, you wouldn't have basically, like, you wouldn't have let Vince McMahon say this on camera, on air, in front of you if you was a real one. And what he's saying is, like, first of all, don't use the race card. And racism is extremely prevalent in the wrestling business. And I had to deal with my fair share amount of racism. That's how I was able to get to the point where I was. But with my talent and my hard work and my perseverance, I was able to overcome the racism and the trials and the tribulations and the adversity that came my way. I faced all the racism head on, and I opened doors for somebody like you. So I agree with Booker T from that standpoint. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, I agree with Swerve Strickland. I believe to a certain degree, a lot of times people are biased or people are racist, and they don't know that they are. To a certain degree, not to a certain degree, we all have preconceived notions of what people. We all have biases, and a lot of white people are racist, and they don't even know it. To them, they're not racist, but in all actuality, they really are. So Triple H has been having this issue in terms of him being synonymous for being a racist, going back to his promo leading up to WrestleMania against him and Booker T years ago, where he said essentially he did like the reverse of what Bernard Hopkins or Devin the Dream Haney did from a boxer standpoint. And he was like told Booker T, somebody like you would never beat me. And many fans pointed at that in terms of Triple H being a racist. And not only that, but a lot of people felt like Booker T should have won that fight. Well, I mean, won that match at WrestleMania between the two of them, because at the time Booker T was hotter than fish grease. And usually as a heel or a bad guy, when you say something like extremely negative like that or overtly disrespectful, usually is a setup for the good guy to win or the babyface to win. And Triple H still won. So that kind of points to the racism that a lot of people say that Triple H is synonymous for. But not only that, but shout out to Black Couch Booking. He's a YouTuber here on YouTube that covers black wrestlers and black wrestling in particular in the AEW and WWE. But there's a lot of talents in WWE that's not used properly. And we're going to use like the Hurt Business, for example. Bobby Lashley is, a decorated wrestler, amateur wrestler. So is Shelton Benjamin. You got MVP. They were the Hurt Business. And when Vince McMahon was running it, the Hurt Business was doing it was doing their thing. They was getting off. Then, after a certain point when Triple H took over, he kind of shut the Hurt Business down. He really didn't use them. Now, moving forward, the Hurt Business ended up going to AEW, and they're being used in a prominent role. Black Couch Booking pointed this out really before the New Day's heel turn. It's like all the black acts on WWE was synonymous for kind of being like buck dancing, stepping and fetching type characters. Like,
come on, bro, Bootios, come on, man. You
no. Well, no. I'm gonna be honest with you. New Day, if people remember the exception of New Day, there was like just so we're gonna say like black Baptist preachers that were like hooping and this, that, and the third, whoop. And then the fans kind of defecated on them because Vince McMahon is myopic the way he sees black people, if that makes sense, right? Going back to the Saba Simba character with Tony Atlas and characters like that, he's synonymous for these type of things.
You remember he turned Devon Dudley into Brother Devon?
Yeah, Brother Devon.
Yeah.
Or having all the Asians characters speak like Asian people in like movies years ago. So he's synonymous for having a myopic viewpoint of minority characters. But the New Day, they kind of flipped it, and after the fans defecated on him, then what he ended up doing was they became a caricature of their original characters, and basically it got over with the fans. And initially it started out good, but I think to a certain degree he makes a valid point from the standpoint of, you know, they got booty old cereal, they're throwing pancakes out in the audience, you know,
that's my point.
Xavier Woods playing a trombone, and it's like they always kind of dancing happy-go-lucky with all these bright colors, even though in certain instances the characters need to be more serious when they are in heated feuds with other characters or whatever. They still kind of dancing and shaking and gyrating and New Day rocks. I'm like, bro, like, if somebody did me in real life what they did to you, hell, I wouldn't be coming to the ring dancing. I'll be pissed off and I'll be getting in my zone as a former athlete. So he makes a valid point from that perspective. And not only that, but all the black characters, whether we talking about Trick Williams or Carmelo Hayes, they all wear gold chains, they all wear sunshades. It's like, damn, bro, like, this the only way y'all see black people in the WWE. Why? For the exception of maybe like Obafemi. He's the only like person that I kind of see that's on NXT. I feel like when they get to the main roster, they probably gonna push him properly. But a lot of the guys, they excel in the developmental league in the NXT. But once they get to the main roster, they kind of get lost in the sauce. And Swerve Strickland was a victim of that. Carmelo Hayes, I hate to say it, I think Trick Williams might fall to that same fate. I think Obafemi, he really kind of don't fit the same mold because, you know, he's African. Now I don't know if he's people from Africa and he came to America, or he's an African American, like portraying an African. But either way, I think more than likely Obafemi.
Yeah, he's from Lagos.
Yeah, so see, that's what I'm saying. You know, even though we all of African descent, like his situation is different. So that's why he don't fit into the normal stereotype like a Carmelo Hayes, like a Trick Williams. Even at the time when they had like Bobby Lashley coming to the ring with shades on all the time, or the Street Profits. Even if you look at like some of the black women, you know, to a certain degree, they kind of over sexualize all the women, but the exception of like women that are clearly like lesbian and are extremely bush, like maybe like a Shayna Baszler, somebody like that. But at the end of the day, you know, they have this stereotype for like typecasting black wrestlers and not using them properly, not pushing them properly. And realistically, to a certain degree, you can kind of see that with most wrestlers, if you're not like in the top like 10% of wrestlers, like maybe like Cody Rhodes, like a Roman Reigns, like a John Cena, like even somebody like, for example, like LA Knight. If you look at the reaction he gets from the crowd and where he is on the program, like he should be pushed a lot harder, compared to his fan reaction. So like
even AJ Styles.
Yeah, AJ Styles, another one. But I'm just saying, for the most part, if you're not like a CM Punk, if you're not a Seth Rollins, a Roman Reigns, a John Cena, a Cody Rhodes, if you're not like the tip top guys, most wrestlers are not going to be pushed properly. But more than anything, I think what Swerve Strickland was saying is like WWE is synonymous for typecasting black wrestlers, not pushing them properly, and not only that, many instances like they're not even getting proper screen time. And you know, truthfully speaking, it's kind of going to be in every wrestling organization, because even though Swerve Strickland was the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, and the Hurt Business were not in AEW, they're the Hurt Syndicate. They're prominently featured on AEW. You still got like a black wrestler like a Powerhouse Hobbs that's probably not being used properly. And even if you look at like WWE, like whether we talking about Naomi, or Bianca Belair, or Jade Cargill, like to a certain degree, you know, they kind of typecasted as like maybe like the sassy black girl, whatever the case may be. So I think there's like valid points on both sides when we talk about Swerve Strickland, talk about, you know, black wrestlers not being used properly and being typecasted. But not only that, but like Booker T said, you know, he feel like maybe, you know, instead of playing a race card, like black wrestlers need to step their game up, because he was like, when he came from WCW to WWE, they tried to bury him and they tried to bury all the WCW wrestlers. but he had elevated his game and he went to the next level, and he was able to, you know, knock down every trial, every tribulation, every obstacle that WWE threw his way, and he was able to overcome it and become world champion again. And not only that, but be featured prominently again. So, you know, one probably has like a Malcolm X perspective, the other one has like a Martin Luther King perspective, and even like Top Dollar or AJ Francis. The same way Swerve Strickland feels about Booker T, you know, he felt the same way about Swerve when it was in Hit Row. Swerve felt like Top Dollar did something to get heat on the group, and they really didn't get pushed the way they should have. And he felt like, to a certain degree, that the same way he felt like Booker T didn't handle Vince McMahon saying the N-word to John Cena on air properly, Top Dollar felt like, you know, he was kind of, you know, eating crap and kind of doing the go along, get along thing so they could be pushed properly. So everybody got their own point of view. Everybody got their own perspective. And one thing I didn't even know, even though I felt like him and Prince Nana, they did an excellent job, you know, with the I Swerve When I Drive. That's his intro song by Bun B. That kind of helped get Swerve over and help Swerve become the AEW World Heavyweight Champion. And I could see from Swerve's perspective, because he wasn't used properly in NXT and WWE, and he come to AEW and he became the world champion. But I didn't know this, but evidently he has a cousin that is in the front office at AEW. I'm not saying that's the reason why he became AEW world champion, because he's extremely talented. But at the same token, you know, people could point at that. So I think both of them make valid points, but more than anything, I hate the fact that Swerve Strickland let VladTv, this culture vulture, like drive a wedge in between you and Booker T. I don't like that. And not only that, Booker T's right from the standpoint of, you know, especially if you're a black guy in a predominantly white profession in entertainment, you're going to have to put up with some nonsense. I'm not saying you should turn the other cheek and do the go along and get along thing, but if you try to be the angry black guy, they're going to always limit you and put a ceiling on how far you could go, how far you could climb. And not only that, but I think Booker T right from the fact that he broke down barriers and he paved the way for somebody like Swerve Strickland to be where he is in 2025. So I don't think he should have let VladTv play him like that and use him to put him against another brother. That's stupid. That's why I don't rock with Vlad. He a culture vulture, and I really don't rock with his content, and I don't like the way he like a messy broad, like put one black man against the other black man. He used a lot of COINTELPRO and COINTELPRO type tactics to me, and that's why I don't rock with his platform.
Yeah. So thank you for unpacking everything. And basically a detailed observation of what's going on. Yeah. Basically, my whole thing is, and I'm glad you are taking a stance. And before I go into it, let me shout out everybody. So salute J Bar. He said salute family. Thank you. Big Joe in the building. Big Joe Town. He said salute to the family. Appreciate you, man. Salute my brothers. Growing with soul. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, brother. And my brother Big Reg, host of Big Boy Talk. What's good, everybody? And we will, and don't worry, we will talk about the Yukon ladies doing this thing. I will eat crow pie tomorrow. But I'm glad, Coach, we share the same sentiments as far as I feel like both sides have some merit, because JB, and when we get JB can talk about Booker T has been known to be a company man. And what I mean by company man is, and when you're black, like basically don't knock over the egg, the egg cart, or don't make trouble, just do your job. If they back there caught saying nigga or doing something racist, just let it roll off your shoulder, a la Vince McMahon saying the N-word on live TV and not doing anything about it. or not, or not being vocal. So I've been had certain feelings about Booker T, but what Booker T was saying as far as him going onto a culture vultures platform like VladTv and just using him, just being used as a tool against another black man. Yeah, that's come on. And yeah, and I like Swerve
Yeah,
Strickland. I like Swerve Strickland, but come on, brother. Booker T is right. You was used, and and
he was
David,
absolutely right. He was
and you know how I
absolutely right.
feel, and you know how I feel with Booker T. I believe Booker T is a company man,
Right,
but
and there's nothing really wrong about being a company man. It's just how you be a company man. It's like if you what are you letting fly? What are you
mm,
letting people getting away with? You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
So Booker T is always gonna be one of my favorite wrestlers. Um, however, like when he started talking about like what Coach was saying about, you know, black wrestlers need to step it up. I'm like, ain't no way that Shelton Benjamin should have been bigger than what he is. He's just as talented. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
Um, in my
Bobby
opinion.
Lashley.
Well, Bobby Lashley held the title. So, so but I'm saying that Shelton Benjamin was to me was the next black wrestler to be that guy. But it just didn't pan out, you know? Um, but just, you guys know I didn't really know that Booker T and Swerve Strickland was beefing. But from what I've, you know, heard and what Coach explained to me, um, Booker T is absolutely right as far as him going on the Vlad show. He should have, if he had issues with Booker T, he should have just talked to him. You know what I'm saying? I can't stand that. If you have a problem with somebody, you know, why would you go to that type of platform? You know what I'm saying? Or go to Booker T's platform and y'all have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think Swerve is a talent. And, I've had my eye on AEW wrestlers. I'm a fan of Cade.
Yeah.
Cargill.
hmm
Yeah, and Sweat.
I
I'm a
like.
fan of Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
a fan of what's
Scorp-
what's what's my other boy?
Scorpio Sky.
Heavy Scott, heavy set dude. He was in the
Oh,
WWE for a little bit.
Keith Lee.
Keith Lee. Yeah. So I'm a fan of those brothers and sisters. So I know who Swerve is. He's very talented. Um, I don't like how they water it down. Cargill, but we know that happens with black wrestlers. However, back to the Booker T and Swerve situation, I just hope that those brothers, squash the beef.
Point blank. Period. And that's what the whole all boils down to. Man, we got enough. We got enough hate going on amongst each other in the black community, and to the point where other races are taking advantage of it and throwing it back in our face when we try to come with a solution. So man, we don't even if it's fake wrestling, man, which um, we don't need it, man. We don't need. This is the two brothers' career, which they excel in. They excel, especially Booker T. Um, but
Booker T is a legend.
yeah, yeah. And sorry for the pause of reading the message. Uh, growing with so looks like glad the devil worked his magic as usual. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That dude. Um, But yeah, Vlad is he's the last person to go to. He's the last person to go to. Brothers just need to stop going on that dude's show, man.
Yeah, and if it's okay, let me interject real quick.
Please.
I think, we are 100% accurate from the standpoint of, like, VladTv is divisive, and like JB said, he made an excellent point. Like, if he had an issue with something Booker T did years ago, that wasn't the way to bring it out. And I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of always been like in fact, we had a show on this talking about issues in the workplace behind the scenes, in terms of there's always like a black person that's like go along to get along and this, that, and the third or whatever. I think, the issue in this instance is, I think a lot of times you might have to eat crap or go along to get along once you get to a certain point. And I think that's the issue with us when it comes to somebody like a Stephen A. Smith. Once you ascend to a certain level, you shouldn't have to eat crap. You shouldn't have to go along to get along. You should be able to put your foot down and like, hey, woo. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know he wanted like the $100 million contract, so he got to get on TV every day and be a buck dancing buffoon and step in the fetching. But at the same token, like, dude, you done made millions of dollars if you took care of your money. You didn't even need ESPN. You could get here on YouTube or even get you your own website or whatever, and you could build your own platform. Like, you don't even need ESPN. So at the end of the day, I don't understand why when black people reach a certain level, they still gotta be a buffoon and buck dance. To me, I think once you get to a certain level, like, you should be to put your foot down. And honestly, even with the Booker T situation with the Vince McMahon saying the N-word, I mean, I think Booker T, right from the standpoint of, yeah, maybe in that instance, he should have handled that differently. We don't know if he told him something behind the scenes. We don't know that. But I know, there were instances like, for example, people say like Mark Henry is a go along to get along type of guy. But at the same token, I remember at one point, instead of calling him the world's strongest man, they had him be they called him
the
silverback gorilla, king of the jungle. And he was like, look, y'all gonna stop that? No, the F y'all ain't. And guess what? Hey, they stopped calling him that real quick. It might have been like a week or two, and it was gone after that. So I think these brothers like Booker T or whatever, sometimes they might go along with something, but at the same token, I'm almost certain behind the scenes he done had to put his foot down in certain instances. So I think he right to a standpoint that he broke down barriers and he handled adversity. We probably just didn't see because it was behind the scenes, you know what I'm saying? So I think he right to a certain degree and he wrong to a certain degree, but I think he more right than wrong, if it makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I unsubbed to Vlad after he disrespected the minister. Yeah.
Oh, I ain't gonna lie. I unsubbed his channel years ago. Years ago.
Yes, man. And regarding the Booker T, he may have had to put his foot down. My only problem with Booker T is he may have put his foot down a couple of times, but knowing how my problem with Booker T is the same thing. My problem with Tony Atlas. You know what's been you know how racist the companies is, but you'll just put your head down and deal with it. What's my boy name? Teddy Long told a story about legendary wrestler, and I'm so it's early in the morning, y'all. Forgive me. I'm trying to. What's that old school wrestler from back in the day, JB?
Ernie Ladd?
Which one?
Not back in early Ladd day.
Thunderbolt Patterson?
Thunderbolt Patterson, thank you. he told a story about Thunderbolt regarding Thunderbolt Patterson. I can't remember if it was Cowboy Bill Watts or Ole Anderson. But one of them asked Thunder Patterson, "Who gonna be my nigga today?" Basically, because he was gonna win the match, and Thunder Patterson was basically like, "I'll be your nigga today." And Teddy Long said he never respected Thunderbolt Patterson after that. So that's and Tony Atlas the same way. He heard people, other races in the in the back say racist say racist jokes, and just went along with it. Didn't put your foot down until it benefits you. That's what some black folks do. A lot of black folks do, actually. They don't want check it out first thing at the door until they get tired of it and tired of it and tired of it, until it benefits them where they have no choice but to stand up. I don't respect that. I don't respect that. I don't respect that at all. And I think that's what Swerve Strickland is coming from. Or I believe that, but he just the platform he's talking about it on. Come on, man. Not glad. Not glad. And I caught that growing with, so we ain't gonna say that devil's name. Glad. JB, what are your thoughts, man? Because I know me and you've been having conversations behind closed doors about black wrestlers being company men and women, and then they let it build up until they have no choice but to stand up.
Man, you can look, man. You can draw a line. You know what I'm saying? You can draw a line and have people give you respect. Me and you've done it, Jared, in certain situations,
Yeah.
in sports, in school, at jobs. But hey, bro, that's not gonna cut it, bro. So either you change that or me and you gonna have a problem. Cause I don't give a damn about no job, really, when it concerns if you disrespecting me like that. Cause I'm confident that God will bless me with another job. So look, either you quit that or then we gonna just have the conversation, and it may not be the conversation you think. So and I grew up, me and you grew up with men like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's probably these wrestlers or anybody, basketball, football, they don't grow up with dudes like this. So so these wrestlers in the wrestling business, since black wrestlers have it hard, they have to go along and get along. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
sad, but it is what it is.
And
Grown with soul, and hold that thought, Coach. Grown with soul said we have to more like do like other groups and not let the world stay CR infighting. Keep this stuff in house. I totally agree.
yeah, I was gonna kind of piggyback off Pope with Growing with Soul put in the chat, and what JB said. Of course, we had this show. People might recall it was the three of us in Brent Fox, and we talked about issues in the workplace. And I'm not gonna lie, somebody like me, like I'm in education. I'm a coach and a teacher, physical education teacher. It's like when I was at the all black or predominantly black schools. You have a certain set of issues. You and I talked about this behind the scenes, but when you go to the predominantly white school, it's like you have another set of issues. And, you know, I kind of been synonymous with being at the dominant white school, and they kind of want somebody black that's going to go along, get along. And that ain't never been my cup of tea. And that's where I kind of ran into problems. And then on top of that, they do things, and in their mind, they think they're being fair and they being right down the middle. And I'm like, nah, that's racist, you know? And they don't see the racism in what they're doing. But I'm like, yeah, it's racist. And to kind of piggyback off, you know, going with Soul Point, you know, not only, you know, do we have to keep the fighting, the infighting in-house, but more so we need to stick together. Because if you look at, you know, the situation with Devin the Dream Handy, bro, situation between him and Ryan Garcia is disgusting to me to see all of these black people like Quentin Rampage Jackson, that buck dancing bootlick that's in support of Ryan Garcia after all of Ryan Garcia did in terms of coming into the fight 3 pounds overweight and using PEDs and cheating Devin Haney, and then going on all these racist rants and racist tirades. And then y'all still rocking with Ryan Garcia? It's like, bro, come on, how big a jig can you be, bro? I don't understand it. And more than anything, you know, of course, you know, we're gonna talk about this tomorrow on the show, but you know, all of these black people coming for Diddy, you know, no Diddy this and no Diddy that. But Vince McMahon is coming back to the WWE, and it's like, bro, I don't understand.
Which I told y'all.
Yeah, you were right, bro.
I tried to tell y'all
on air. You were right. You was like, man, coach, behind the scenes, he's still connected, and he gonna come back at some point. And I'm like, bro, the same thing.
He sure did.
The same thing Thomas DeLuth, the Thomas from the Bronx, said yesterday in the chat. I was kind of saying the same thing, like, no, indeed, he got to start his own company. And sure enough, they brought him back. And like, man, it's ridiculous. And it's crazy that black people can't stick together. We can't avoid these COINTELPRO type tactics, or these tactics that, you know, been known to break up black groups like the Black Panthers and the Nation of Islam, you know, the Rainbow Corps. Like, I don't understand like why black people can't see these obvious tactics that white supremacy uses, and we keep falling for it. But more than anything, I don't understand why black people can't stick together. That's the thing that just aggravates and irks me, you know. We need to be on one accord, and we need to be as one.
Yeah, man, but just going back to Booker T and Swerve Strickland, like JB said, I just, in a nutshell, hope these brothers can just come together, meet somewhere behind the scenes, and just talk it out, man, peacefully. And then get on live and let everybody know that everything's good, man. You know, there's some misunderstanding, so I pray that is the conclusion of this heat. But we'll see. We'll see. Because I have, even though I have certain feelings for Booker T, as far as I don't like how he moved as far as on the machine level or corporate level, but I do have respect for this brother, man.
He's a legend.
He's a legend, and I do have respect for Swerve Strickland. All right, so let's move on. And Grown with Soul said, facts. I say no, De La Hoya. Pity is not the face of the freak nasty, so no De La Hoya or no Isman. P. Diddy, okay, P. Diddy, my bad. I get what he's saying. So basically, yeah. So people saying no Diddy, everybody needs to say no De La Hoya, no Epstein, or no Vince McMahon. Yeah.
No Josh Giddey.
No Josh Giddey, for example. But people are parrots nowadays, especially black folk. They're gonna repeat whatever it is on the internet or whatever is hot, even if it's a lie. Ahmed Johnson versus the Nation of Domination. So we definitely had to bring this up again. So basically, in real life, Ahmed Johnson, aka Tony Norris, fell out with the WWE or the WWF at that time. Basically, there's a whole bunch of wrestlers. Once he left the company, he said that he was arrogant, not a good person. Tried to hurt people. Didn't know how to wrestle. And there's interviews with D'Lo Brown and Kama, aka Godfather, saying this, and he just didn't. I heard all, especially Mark Henry and Jim Ross interviews saying he just didn't get it. Using those words, which I'm gonna let JB cook on that. And we've had debates behind closed doors, me, JB, and Coach, regarding
not only behind closed doors, but we did a segment.
A little bit, yeah. We touched on a little bit on the Southern Baller Show a little bit, and salute Anthony Bolton
on one segment.
Yes, sir, and salute Anthony Bolton, Memphis man in the building. Yeah, Nation of Domination. So we so me and JB basically we pretty much are familiar with Ahmed Johnson's story, and we believe him versus Mark Henry, Godfather, D'Lo Brown. Farouk did an interview way back a while ago, but I can't find it. But because for first of all, some stuff that doesn't make sense. JB, you wanna kind of begin as far as the why we kind of believe Ahmed Johnson versus the Nation of Domination?
Sure, and I'll try not to make it so long with it and give you the short version. Basically, Ahmed Johnson was the type of person where he got shine quick. He got the push quick. And a lot of wrestlers like Farouk, who've been with the WWE for years, and then you get this dude with they get pushed. That brings jealousy, right? But at the same time, and like Jared said, us having debates behind the scenes, I'm not defending that Ahmad probably was a jackass or arrogant or didn't do the right things. I'm just saying from what some of the brothers in the Nation Domination saying, it's not adding up. And a lot of those dudes are company dudes. So they're going to say anything to protect the company. Even my boy, Mark Henry. Even Mark Henry had a story about how, Farouk and Ahmad got into the beef, into their beef.
Mm-hmm.
The timelines was off. He said that Ahmad hurt Farouk. In actuality, Farouk lacerated Ahmad's kidney.
First, yeah.
First, when Ahmad was tag team with Shawn Michaels versus who was Shawn Michaels, Ahmed Johnson versus
was it the Road Warriors?
No, not the Road. It was somebody.
Jim Cornette with
Jim Cornette and his crew. Yeah, and his crew. Farouk interfered and kicked Ahmed Johnson in the kidney. So then Ahmed Johnson told his story. When Ahmed Johnson interviewed in his story, he said, "Hey, I never really met Farouk before till that night, and then he kicked me in the and lacerated my kidney, and then I got him back, and that's how I hurt him. So that's how that beef started. So that's not saying that Mark Henry is a bad guy or whatever, but that means that probably Mark Henry and Farouk are boys, and you're going to say anything to protect your boy, and I understand that, but I just think that a lot of people was rubbed the wrong way from Ahmed Johnson, excuse me, because he was the type of dude where he wasn't going to do certain stuff in the WWE. They wanted to tar and feather him. They wanted to what else? Vince was trying to make him do. Vince was trying to make him. They were trying to hang him.
Yeah, they were literally trying to hang him.
Do an episode where they hang him, and Ahmed Johnson was like, "Hell no." And then he cussed out Vince, and Vince basically said that they was going to erase him from history. And to me, that's personal, because no matter what you think about Ahmed Johnson, true or facts, no wrestler shouldn't be erased from history. Hell, they haven't even really erased Chris Benoit from history. So how the hell you going to erase Ahmed Johnson?
Your first black intercontinental
champion. He was the first black intercontinental champion. He the one helped, to me. He was the one that helped the company stay afloat when WCW was kicking their ass in the ratings in in the late 90s. And then of course they turned the tide with the Monday Night Wars. But that's another story. But yeah, so that's my story with Ahmed Johnson. I think a lot of people shit on Ahmed Johnson. He's not. I've seen worse wrestlers. Trust me. I've seen worse wrestlers, and they get put over and stuff like that, or stiff. A lot of people say he was stiff. Yeah, some of my favorite wrestlers are stiff. Goldberg was stiff. He only had a couple of moves: spear, jackhammer. Hell, most of his matches lasted 2 minutes?
No more.
Not even that.
Probably but 96. Yeah.
So, but I'm gonna let the other brothers get their opinion on this.
Now, Coach, and I know you're gonna cook. Before you cook, let me play this video.
The only time that I ever seen it in live in 3D was dumbass Ahmed Johnson. All people in the world to pick a beef with. He kicked Ron and lacerated Ron's liver. Ooh. And Ron was out for about 9 months. And I'm thinking the whole time, when Ron come back, I feel sorry for this dude, because he gave him his body and he kicked him as hard as I ever seen a human being kicked. Teddy Long was driving the car with me, and he said, "Hey, man, Ron Simmons come back next week." I said, "Oh, man, that's cool." He was like, "Nah, listen, this is between me and you. I live in Atlanta. I talk to Ron all the time. Ron is pissed." And he said that when he come back, he gonna hurt this dude. And I'm like, oh, snap. Like, I couldn't. I'm like, he's like, "Don't say nothing, I'm just letting you know, like, don't be around him because he got heat." I was like, all right, I ain't messing with him anyway. So they get back, and I remember the first time I saw Ron is always like, "Hey, Henry." He walked right by me like I wasn't there, posted up in the locker room. And I can't remember who it was. Somebody went and sat next to him. Ron grabbed all his stuff kind of in a huff and moved it over into an area where he was by himself. And it was so unlike Ron. He was so angry being back at the arena, knowing that Ahmed was coming. And he was mentally preparing himself for what was about to happen. And I remember looking at the card, And Ron been gone for 9 months or more. And it was Ron Simmons, Ahmed Johnson. And I went, holy cow, it was a sellout. I remember being a sellout.
Refer to what you're talking about a sellout. I'm sure.
Okay, so for those that don't know what a sellout, this is not when you sell all the tickets in the arena. I'm talking about when all the boys are standing at the curtain and they're peeking through because they want to watch what's going to happen with their real eyes rather than watching a monitor or being in a gorilla position. It was a build-up, and I'm telling you, it was not a lockup. It was a mauling. Ron ran through him. His back hit the ground. Ron stomped on his stomach, and then when he rolled over to try to get up, Ron kicked him in the ribs, broke 3 of his ribs, and I mean, it was like watching a tiger or a lion or something attack some helpless animal in the wild. And Ron pinned him. And at this time, and I'm going to use your analogy, Ahmed Johnson was over as hell during that time. The only person getting a reaction like yours was his. He was that over. 6 months later, done. He got killed off in one night. It was that night that Ron came back and whooped his ass. His run was over.
What was the whole story about your feud with Farouk, and where at one point, I guess in the match, he kicked you?
Yeah, now that I think that was done on purpose, because
well, I'll just interrupt you for a second. We saw Ron Simmons at a convention about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Someone brought up that question to him in the Q&A, and he said that you were stiff, and it was a receipt for you to start to calm down.
I never wrestled him until that. That was the first time we ever met each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't understand. I couldn't get that. That's the first time we ever met each other. I think that was more of the fact that he was jealous because he was the first black, I guess, WCW champion or something. And I was first black in WWF. And I think he thought that was kind of disrespectful. I had been there, a matter of a year. And he had put in numerous of years, before he became a champion.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been there 1 year and became, a champion. And I think he didn't like that. I think that was a little disrespectful because when I first met him backstage, I'm real quiet and keep to myself, so I didn't really speak to him when I first met him. And that was the night he was supposed to do a run out on me. And I think he thought that was a little disrespectful. But that's why I paid him back. And that match with me and the Road Warriors had against them, I sent him to the hospital then. That's why I paid him back. He got a receipt for it.
Before we get to that, what take us back to that match when you got injured at that point?
Well, I didn't know what was going on. Just, we had me and Shawn Michaels was tag teaming against the Smoking Guns. And Farouk, when I went out the rope, Farouk was supposed to come out and, and take over on me and beat me down. And he ran out there, and that first kick, right in my kidney. It felt like a shotgun hit. And I was like, oh, I'll be damned. And talking about stiff, Farouk is one of the stiffest guys in the business, brother. But I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like working against guys who are stiff,
mm-hmm.
And he just kicked me in the kidney, and that was, basically it. I went to the hospital.
You knew you were hurt bad right then? Or?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
It hurt like hell, but I didn't know it was, that bad. Vader's the one who I was rooming with Vader at the time. We were sharing a room together. And while I was asleep, Vader said I was breathing funny. And he got up and called the ambulance, and they found out that he messed my kidney up a little bit.
And that kept you out for how long at that point?
I think about a month or so.
And you said you felt it was on purpose at that time?
Yeah, I feel it was a justice.
He actually even said it, that it was kind of on purpose. It was a receipt, but I guess so.
I wish he'd have told me that.
Yeah.
I wish he'd told me. I never heard that before. I wish he'd told me that. But yeah, I guess I just feel it wasn't a receipt. How could it be a receipt? I never wrestled him before.
Yeah, maybe from what he heard from other guys who wrestled you, but not do it in his matches, or that's
matches,
the only thing.
His matches were always stiff.
Yeah,
but it was. I mean, we were stiff with respect. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I got to the point where I sent him back to the hospital, and
tell us that story. How
and it was and that was a receipt. I mean, I did that on purpose. Yeah, that was receipt because he had, hurt me, and I believe in returning my receipts.
Mm-hmm. What match was this again?
It was one. It was. I don't remember what it was, but it was me and the Road Warriors against the Nation, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it was it was a street fight, and I gave him a spine buster and drove my head in his ribs and broke a couple of his ribs.
Was this on a pay-per-view? It was a 6-man. It was. I think,
it was 6. Well, Nation always count more than 6 men, but it was supposed to be a 6-man.
All right, that's the video I wanted to play, and that's the research I did. I looked it up myself, and I found out this to be accurate. So I don't know what Mark Henry was talking about. But Coach, based on what we saw and what JB said, what are your thoughts?
First and foremost, fair use YouTube. Secondly, we had a show a while back, and I think Brent Fox was on that show also. And we talked about, essentially it was the two of y'all kind of on Ahmed Johnson's side, and I think the two of us was on like the Nation of Domination side.
Right.
And, that day we talked, you kind of showed portions of these videos that you're showing now. And of course, we talked behind the scenes in addition to that. And, basically, like JB's position and your position was that Farouk and the Nation, to a certain degree, I guess, were more like company men, whereas Ahmed Johnson kind of was like, he was like the new hot guy. Well, first and foremost, one correction to JB. Ahmed had been in the WWE for a little minute, like maybe like a year. Farouk had recently come over from WCW. But I think what he was referencing is the fact that Farouk, Ron Simmons had been a WCW World Heavyweight Champion like in 92 or whatever. And Ahmed had only been in WWE like a year, and he was like the first black Intercontinental Champion. And in addition to that, he was the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Champion because he had won a Battle Royal. So a lot of people
the King of the Ring.
Yeah, King of the Ring. So no. It wasn't King of the Ring. It was a Battle Royal that they had on TV or whatever. And he eliminated Goldust and somebody else at the end, and he ended up being it was a Battle Royal. It wasn't the King of the Ring.
I remember the battle, and the King of the Ring was somewhere. I think it was before the turn. You're right. It was before the tournament. Go ahead.
And he, so not only was he the first black Intercontinental Champion, he was the number one contender to the WWE Championship, and he was gonna get a match pretty soon. And the tag team match, it was the Smoking Guns against Shawn Michaels and Ahmed. And Farouk, the reason why I know he hadn't been there that long, because he had the gladiator, the African sport, the African gladiator.
That's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it was dumb as hell because this dude had already, was a extremely decorated college football player at Florida State. I mean, he was a Heisman Trophy winner as an undersized nose guard. You know what I'm saying? So, his character was zesty, but of course he wasn't zesty in real life because he was married to Marlena, his wife Terry Reynolds at the time. He got another wife now, but yeah, his character was zesty as hell, and two ways about it. But getting back on track, so Farouk hadn't been in the WWE that long, and Ahmed had been there a little minute, like a year. But Farouk had been in wrestling long before Ahmed. So, the three of us had this conversation behind the scenes. And basically, our initial positions was, I was more on the nation side, and the two of y'all, myself and Brent Fox were kind of more on the nation side. Y'all were more on Ahmed Johnson's side. And I think it kind of came to a point where, based on seeing this video that you showed us and based on stuff we talked about, I think we kind of came to the conclusion where, like, there's three sides of every story.
Right.
There's one side, is the other side, and usually the truth is somewhere in the middle, and that's the third side of the story. And the way the nation always referenced it was like, whether we talking about D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry, Kama Mustafa at the time, the Godfather, and Farouk, Ron Simmons, there was always like, Ahmed Johnson was a butthole. He was hard to deal with. He was hard to get along with. He was a liar. This, that, and the third. And whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. And basically, Jim Ross and Bruce Pritchard and everybody else, they all, like JB said, they all paint Ahmed Johnson in the exact same light. Like, he was a scumbag individual and he was a poor character. Whereas on the opposite side, like, he was kind of like the anti-company man. And, the issue I had with Ahmed was, until y'all showed me that video, I'm like, dang, my grandfather used to say this all the time. He said, all man ain't going to speak good about you, and all man ain't going to speak bad about you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to, but everything I've been hearing about Farouk, like 100% of everything you saw online, everybody spoke negative about him. Nobody spoke positive about this dude at no point, anytime. And JB was like, man, I find that kind of strange. He was like, usually somebody gonna paint you in a positive light at some point. So that's what kind of had me swayed to like, nah, man, I think Ahmed Johnson, I think part of it was he was having so much success so quick that it kind of went to his head and he was a butthole in that regard. But I think you and JB was right from the perspective of, when you look at the word history, is his story. So whoever wins the war after the fact, they shape the narrative and they tell a story the way they want. And most of the time, that story is inaccurate. Like, give you an example. If you look at the whole WCW versus WWE storyline or whatever, once Vince McMahon bought out WCW, he tried to bury all the WCW wrestlers, and he made all WCW wrestlers look like they were inferior to WWE wrestlers, for the exception of Booker T, who on his own got himself over. But the point I'm trying to make is, y'all right from the perspective of basically, like you said, WWE tried to whitewash Ahmed Johnson from the history books. And since it's history, his story, they tried to make it look like Ahmed was like this scumbag piece of trash. And, he tried to peel Mark Henry and this, that, and the third. So I think I kind of came to the conclusion after watching the video, because that video you showed, I have seen it already. Like that Ahmed is wrong in certain aspects, just like the previous story with Booker T and Swerve. I think Ahmed wrong in certain aspects and he right in other aspects. In the nation right in certain aspects and they wrong in other aspects. I think the point where Ahmed is right, I think it was some professional jealousy when you consider that Farouk had been the WCW heavyweight champion, and he widely viewed as, even though technically he's not, because you had people like Bearcat Wright, Bobo Brazil or whatever. I'm sure people like that was world champions in their respective territory. But from a national standpoint, like Ron Simmons was the first WCW heavyweight champion because he beat Vader for the championship. So that's why people recognize Ron Simmons as the first black world heavyweight champion, And then, so it probably was some professional jealousy, considering that Ron Simmons had been in the wrestling business for years. He's a decorated college football player. And somebody like Farouk, he had been in the business for years too, but he had only been in WWE for like a year. So relatively speaking, Ron Simmons had put way more time in the game than Ahmed Johnson did. And maybe it was a little bit of jealousy. But at the same token, I think when Ahmed got so much so quick, he probably did have a lot of butthole tendencies, and he was arrogant and this, that, and the third. And, I think they kind of was wrong in both regards. Not in terms of the whole Mark Henry story. You got to realize when Mark Henry said Ahmed Johnson was over his hair, he wasn't lying. Realistically, I remember watching WWE at the time. The only person that was getting a reaction like Stone Cold was Ahmed Johnson. That's no cap. And realistically, we talk about Goldberg. Realistically, he was kind of like a Goldberg type character. Of course, he had longer matches than Goldberg. But when I mean Goldberg type character in terms of his intensity, and we talk about being stiff, I'm not gonna lie. I remember when I was a kid, I'm like, man, this dude look like he for real, like he. And later on, when I became an adult and I got older, I'm like, damn, no wonder he looked so intense when I was a kid, because like he was driving people, for real and shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's why his match used to look so intense. Right. He was knocking the hell out of people. You know what I'm saying? But at the same token, I mean, even if we talk about somebody like Booker T and Ahmed don't really rock. And, him and Stevie Ray boys, this, that, and the third. And even him, he said he intentionally tried to sabotage Booker T in his short, brief stint with WCW. So the point I'm trying to make is, I think just like the previous issue, there's wrong on both sides. And, I think y'all right to a certain degree that maybe the nation kind of were company men from the standpoint of, they were trying to protect the WWE brand. And, Ahmed Johnson was kind of like the anti-company guy, even though they gave him a lot extremely quickly. But at the same token, I think, I'm not saying he the scum of the earth, but I think in certain regards, Ahmed wasn't as squeaky clean as he tried to portray himself. I mean,
yeah.
They got
definitely not saying nobody is, but go ahead.
Yeah. But I'm saying they got a ridiculous amount of stories of Ahmed Johnson being out there like just doing butthole stuff and it's don't get me wrong. I know a certain degree of it is the company, trying to shovel dirt on him. But at the same token, bro, there's like there's way too many stories of this dude like doing stupid stuff or I'm not gonna even say being a scumbag, but not being a nice guy, just to kind of put it politely. So at the end of the day, I think the Nation story is on one side of it. For Ahmed Johnson's story is on one side, and I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. Now, in regards to the Mark Henry thing, like I was saying, I think when he came to the story, you got to realize a lot of times it had been years since that Farouk Ahmed Johnson incident had happened. So a lot of times, when you wrestlers and you've been hit with chairs a lot, your memory might not be as good. And then in addition to that, it had been years since that transpired. So I'm not saying he was being completely truthful, but at the same token, I don't think he intentionally lied about Ahmed Johnson to try to paint him as the bad guy.
I hear you, Coach. But
I know, man. Hey, look, bro, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna give you an example. I'm gonna use me for example, right? If you talk to somebody like Rude Dog like, dang, Coach, bro, you remember every damn thing. Don't get me wrong, I don't remember everything, but he's like, man, you like encyclopedia in terms of you being able to reach back 20, 30 years and tell stories almost damn near verbatim the way they happen. And he was like, the average person ain't like you. So the point I'm trying to make is a lot of times when people tell stories, they F up details and this, that, and the third. So I'm not trying to say Mark Henry is squeaky clean in this instance either. He's just giving his recollection. And clearly, based on what we saw just now, that recollection ain't 100% the truth. I think Ahmed Johnson being over his hell aspect of it is definitely correct. Yeah. But I think he flat out lied about the way everything popped off between Ron Simmons and Ahmed Johnson, because clearly, like Ahmed said, he hadn't even met him before that. And the first time you interact with this dude run down and he kick you and he lacerate your kidney. Hey, bro, that's a hell of a first time meeting, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I sent you this video in terms of the meteoric rise of Ahmed Johnson or Tony Norris. It's bro, he had a Goldberg type rise, but unlike Goldberg, he fell quickly too. And he went to WCW. He just wasn't the same because he wasn't on the gas. The more he got fat as hell, he blew up. And then he had issues over there too. So at the end of the day, I think my perspective is I think both sides. I think he said the real question is our beloved brother Joe Townsend and D-Lo Brown. No, keep it a book. I think D-Lo Brown, that's my personal opinion. Big Joe probably bigger than him. But at the end of the day, I think Ahmed story is on one side and the Nation is on the other side. But I think the real truth is somewhere in the middle. And I think we came to this kind of JB and I came to the same conclusion behind the scenes where the truth is somewhere in the middle,
JB, what's your feedback on what Coach just said?
And this is why we had these discussions, and I'm glad we don't, everybody don't agree. We just say our points and then we'll find the truth somewhere in the middle. I think just listening to what Coach had to say, and in our opinion, I think he was an asshole because his success got to his head. I think the people in the locker room didn't like him, and then somebody sent out a hit on him, and they had fruit went out there and effed him up. That's what I think happened. As far as the injuries, because you can't, I'm the type of person, you just can't say stuff to me. You know what I'm saying? I'll put the pieces together quick. So why was everybody watching? Farouk was like, "Oh, everybody!" It was what did he say? It was a sellout. Sellout. Yeah. So everybody was watching Farouk go out there and hurt Ahmed Johnson.
Well, no, I'm not gonna lie. I think that's where the mess up in the story came. He talked about it. Ron Simmons came back, but as we clearly saw, he hurt Ahmed Johnson before Ahmed Johnson hurt him. So that's where he messed up in the story.
Still, you know what I'm saying? Still knowing that Farouk hurt Ahmed Johnson first, and then Ahmed Johnson hurt him back. You know what I'm saying? And then what? So why would you? You know what I'm saying? And then you pissed about that. You know what I'm saying? But I just think Ahmed Johnson probably didn't handle some things correctly as he should. He rubbed the people the wrong way. Still, there was way more assholes in the WWE or F, whatever you want to call it, bigger than Ahmed Johnson. And then they made
They able to flourish.
and they had productive lives. So
like Shawn Michaels.
that don't right, Shawn Michaels. So that's never gonna fly with me. And then they had African, black dudes help get this dude out of the WWE. Ahmed Johnson said it himself that he didn't after he left the WWE with his bad experience, he didn't want to wrestle no more. He was depressed. The only reason why he went to WCW out of shape is because his homeboy Stevie Ray told him to come and help him wrestle. I watched a match I think last weekend with him and Eddie Guerrero and somebody tag team with Stevie Ray. It was Eddie Guerrero and Booker T versus Stevie Ray and Ahmed Johnson. This is when Stevie Ray and Booker T had that feud with them being brothers. They went against each other. So there was a tag team and he was out of shape. He was and even he says on an interview he just did it for the money. You know what I'm saying? The love of wrestling wasn't there. So
no, not just only that. He did it for his boys because him and Stevie Ray are close. They're boys.
Yeah, so I think, of course Stevie Ray, I'm not Stevie Ray, but Ahmed Johnson, he probably was leaving something out, but they're the most honest person. He's been the most honest as far as what happened, really. And everybody else had the most cliche, just protecting the company. Like that Mark Henry story, even like you said, maybe because he can't remember some things, but it rubbed me the wrong way. The storylines, was all. But it is what it is.
And catch the pattern. You got people like, hold on, JP, because there's static on your end. Coach, can you hear that?
Yeah, I don't lie. He was kind of staticky, but
what I was gonna say is like, and then catch the pattern, like, and just piggyback off JB said. Then you got people like Val Venus and JB, Jim Ross, and Jake the Snake Roberts, and Mike Johnson came out in an interview and said, "I ain't never met these people. What are they talking about?" He said, "Jim Ross ain't tell me shit." And I ain't never met no damn Jake the Snake Roberts. What are you talking about? So it's who knows, man.
Vince McMahon said, what did Vince McMahon say? The dude that was messing with raping women and then they allowed him to come back. He was
raping women.
Raping women, yeah. Raping women allowed him to come back. He was gonna erase this man off the history book. So of course the people that work with him is gonna say some foul shit or some bad shit about. Look, man, I've been in the workplace. I've seen this happen before. But people, I'm like, wait a minute, why y'all saying bad stuff about this dude? Y'all don't even know this dude like that. I know that for a fact. Oh, you're just going off with the boss and the leadership. Okay. You guys are weird and foul, but that's just what it reminds me of. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. And again, to Coach's point, I'm not saying that Ahmed Johnson didn't handle it. I'm not saying that Ahmed Johnson handled it the right way.
Not at all. Not saying that at all. Yeah, and like Growing the Soul say, Ahmed Johnson very well could have been a jerk, especially considering all the gear those guys were taking, and talk about Roy Ray. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. He definitely was gassed to the gills. But I'm about to hop off in a few minutes. But what I'm about to say is, in terms of Ahmed Johnson, when you talked about the tag team match, when Booker T and Stevie Ray had broke up at the Harlem Heat, and he brought Ahmed Johnson out in, who was out of shape. He was Big T then because his real name Tony Norris. Is Booker T replacement in Harlem Heat, and it was Eddie Guerrero and Booker T against Big T and Stevie Ray. Ahmed Johnson forgot a spot in the match, and instead of him saying, "Yeah, I forgot a spot, I effed it up," what he came back and said was he knew Booker T was finna get a singles push, and he intentionally sabotaged him. And I'm like, bro, hold up, like you bitching and complaining about, you know, Farouk being jealous of you and the nation being jealous of you and them intentionally sabotaging you. And basically you turn around and say you did try to do the same thing to Booker T. You know, that's why to this day, Ahmed Johnson and Booker T got heat from the standpoint of, hey, Booker T said, if I ever seen him, it's like on site. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, bro, like, come on, bro. Like, so, you know, when we say Ahmed Johnson is not squeaky clean in this whole situation, like that's a classic example of, you know, you have an issue with what they did to you, but you trying to turn around and try to do the same thing else to somebody else. I'd rather him just say, hey, man, I forgot what I was supposed to do and I effed up. I'd have been cool with that, but for you to say you tried to sabotage Booker T, it's like, man, that's some whole shit right there. You know what I'm saying?
Booker T ain't gonna do nothing. Ahmed Johnson said he saw him at the airport and they were just looking at each other. He said he ain't gonna do shit. But
that is some whole stuff to say you intentionally tried to sabotage it.
Yeah, I didn't like that. That was, you know, that was a red flag. That was just, again, him being like we said, we suspect him being a jackass. But Anthony Bolton said there was a story out there that Shawn Michaels put feces in the Rock's locker, and the Rock was about to beat Shawn Michaels down, but Mark Henry stopped him. Now, I can believe that, but that's the Rock fault. Let me tell you why. The Rock, there's many stories out there with black wrestlers saying that The Rock was getting chummy with Triple H and every you know, the clique, and they would be saying racist stories and racist jokes, and The Rock would, you know, just be, you know, laughing and joking with them. Now, every black person know with white dudes like that, when you let them get away with stuff like that, they're gonna it's gonna be soon. It's not gonna be long until they try you.
Well, see, I'm not gonna lie. You know, they got an infinite amount
especially
of stories.
Shawn Michaels.
No, they got infinite amount of stories about Shawn Michaels, especially when he was on drugs heavy. Like he was an extreme butthole, and the thing that made it worse, he was the champion, because even Mark Henry, he told a story on the Undertaker podcast. You know, he was saying that he was a alpha dude when it came to like powerlifting and sports and stuff. Like he wasn't used to people trying him. So evidently,
I know what story you're talking about.
Yeah, Paul Bearer, Mark Henry had broke his ankle, and Paul Bearer hit his crutches, and Shawn Michaels being a butthole trying to rub it in, and Mark Henry was like, dude, like, you 180 pounds, you can't talk shit to me. He like, man, I'll kill you.
No, you saying it wrong, Coach. He said, you too small to be talking shit to me.
No, that's essentially that
Yeah.
And Shawn Michaels was like, you threatening me? He was like, if that's what you want to call it. He was like, man, I'll be wrong for whooping up on you. You're 180 pounds.
Right.
So Shawn Michaels went back and told Vince McMahon, and essentially they ended up sending Mark Henry ass to Canada for a little while to kind of let him get his stuff right. So the fact that the Shawn Michaels was synonymous for getting away with that type of stuff, and the fact that he probably stopped The Rock from beating the brakes off him, he probably was saving The Rock from himself, because even though The Rock had potential to be what he ended up becoming, he hadn't got to that point yet. So that's why I was saying earlier, but Booker T, a lot of times if you hadn't arrived to that point, you know, you got to take a little BS. But once you get to the top, you can kind of write your own ticket. That's my
facts, bro. What's up? Booker T and Ahmed Johnson, old ass sitting there talking. Ahmed Johnson sitting there talking. He can come to my dojo. We can fight. If y'all don't sit y'all old ass down somewhere.
Facts.
Talking about y'all Yeah, and I just hope I like Ahmed Johnson, like Booker T. Again, same thing I said regarding Booker T and Swerve Strickland. I just hope they um, patch it up, man. You know, because it's not a good look, man. And I don't. And one thing I will say, I don't like what Ahmed Johnson did. He on the interview with them two white dudes talking about his beef with Booker T, and then he brought up Ahmed Johnson, and he called Ahmed Johnson the silverback gorilla on the interview with two white dudes. I don't like shit like that.
Who did now? What now?
Mark Henry, he look like a gorilla to me. Don't say, because when you do shit like that, it's like you giving. I feel like you giving white dudes or white people the ammunition. Oh, he said it, and I can say it. And that's not good, because somebody gonna get stabbed or shot.
Yeah, so Ahmed Johnson on the some podcast was calling Mark Henry a silverback gorilla.
Yeah.
He filed for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we joke like that, but you know, we call each other names like that behind closed doors. But like getting on like a public platform stuff, I don't like shit like that.
Yeah, bro.
Because if a Klan member or a racist white person call you the same thing, you got a problem. You want to yeah.
It's big time. In fact, me and you, when we had the same conversation between the Nation and Mark Henry behind the scenes, I'm talking about the Nation and Ahmed behind the scenes. You know, I was telling you, Booker T just had won the WCW title, and the next night, he came on WCW TV, and they had this, me and somebody in my neighborhood, we was playing basketball in the backyard, and this white guy was fixing our central unit at the house, and I kept using the N-word, and Senior pulled me to the side, and he rest in peace. Senior was like, "Come here, son." I'm like, "What you say, Dad?" He was like, "Look, hey, bro, I know you and our neighbor, you know, y'all playing basketball. It's just y'all. When it's just us, we can use that type of language. We don't use the N-word in front of them folks. You know what I'm saying?" So he had to kind of straighten me out in that regard.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of black people in 2025, they don't get that memo, you know. They think white people throwing this N-word around is ain't no big deal, this, that, and third. You know, that's why, you know, Ryan Garcia, that's why I really can't stand how these ninjas either come to his defense or they rock with him. Like, even all of his security people are black. And I'm like, bro, they ain't got enough money in the world for, if I'm like Big Joe side, for me to go be a bodyguard for this scumbag piece of trash, Ryan Garcia. Or for me to be Coach Prime and parading him around my players. I mean, F. Ryan Garcia for what he said and what he did.
Facts, man. Yeah, facts. But yeah, facts is green light for white boy to disparage. Yeah. I don't. Our people. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, man, good conversation. And Coach, I know you got to run, man. We gonna try to come back and have that show
later on today.
Yeah, later on. I'll keep you updated because I might have errands to do.
Yeah, in fact, I'm gonna text you, and you're gonna put out the notification. If we're gonna do it, everybody, we're gonna do it later on today. A special HBCU Fanatics version of the Southern Baller Show. He gonna let y'all know whether we're gonna do it or not. It's depending on his schedule, because I'm free for the rest of the day after the next like 50 minutes or so. I'm free the rest of the day, so we're gonna see. But y'all can catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms. However, I'm primarily here on YouTube. If we don't run it back later on today with the HBCU Fanatics episode of the Southern Baller Show, y'all have a blessed day, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. If not, then we'll see y'all later on today. Peace and blessings to everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And JB, appreciate you for hopping on, man. I know it was early in the morning, but I appreciate you.
No problem, man. Y'all be blessed. Have a good weekend, man.
Yeah, man. This was a special installment of the Southern Baller Show. Appreciate everybody that came and checked this out and just listen, man. Y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe. Y'all have a blessed day, man. Appreciate you, man. Growing with soul. Y'all be blessed, man.